was this digital blueprint CNN story investigation into motherless.com. It revealed a clear web subculture where predators share illegal content and teach it. So it's essentially a rape academy. It is a website that shows porn videos of women who are passed out and being abused by their husbands or boyfriends. There's other content on the website as well, but this is obviously what the CNN investigation is about. And through that website, these people get in touch with each other, talk on Telegram or other WhatsApp groups, and they share information on how to drug and rape their wives or girlfriends. Drug dosages, techniques to avoid detection, and the website had 26 million hits during the time where CNN was doing this investigation. That's a lot to process. And I have some thoughts, but then I wanted to get to the other story, which was the former lieutenant governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, murdered his wife, Dr. Serena Fairfax, in their home and then took his own life. They had a court-ordered move-out date, same roof separation, so they were already in the process of getting divorced, and immediately the conversation around the death turned to the murder and his death, suicide, turned to mental health and mental struggles and lost potential. He was dealing with sexual assault allegations and lost his career. He's an Alpha Phi Alpha, so his fraternity brothers were posting these really elaborate "rest in peace, dear brother" posts about his death, not even mentioning his wife. Roland Martin did a piece talking about mental health and how to avoid these sort of situations, which got a lot of pushback. Sophia Nelson also talked about her relationship with him, and it effectively erased Dr. Serena Fairfax's life and positions Justin Fairfax as a man who essentially's potential was just never really seen, and not the reality of the situation, which was that a woman who was going through the proper channels to protect herself and her family was violently and intentionally murdered by her husband, which is full stop the story. And then this story just, it's really hard to talk about. And the more that the details come out about this, the angrier I get, the sadder I get. But in Shreveport, Louisiana, a man named Shamar Elkins murdered 8 children, 7 of his own, ages 3 to 14, execution style. He also shot in the head his ex-wife and his current girlfriend. There are lots of details still coming out about this. Another child escaped by jumping off of the roof. The 2 women are in critical condition. The child who jumped off the roof is dealing with broken bones and recovering. And this massacre was just a horrible bookend on a week of really horrific stories, and just represented the worst case outcome of a domestic situation that was escalated. And it's just been a painful reminder that society prioritizes the legacy, the complex legacy of the perpetrator over the safety of the victim. And you have anonymous users on Motherless. You have people who are at the height of political power. You have veterans, you have fathers, all of these monikers to describe the people, the men who are perpetrating these horrific acts onto women and children. And the focus is on the why rather than how we can protect women and children. And to get to the personal side of this whole conversation and why I put those three stories together is I've talked a lot about being a domestic violence survivor. I've dealt with domestic abuse from the time that I was born. My very first memory on this planet is my father chasing my mother around the kitchen table and her begging him not to hit her. I have witnessed, unfortunately, every single different layer of abuse, from financial abuse to spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse. And I've seen the terror that these situations can cause, the generational trauma that tremors from men behaving this way. I've dealt with it from a domestic perspective, from obviously being in a home as a child. I've dealt with it as an adult. I've had extremely close friends of mine, a friend of mine murdered by her ex, who she got a restraining order against, started her life over, and was shot in the face and killed, leaving behind 2 young children. I've seen all of this from a very, very personal place. And so when I talk about these stories, it's not coming from an abstract of, wow, it's so sad, wow, their lives were cut short. It's such a bigger societal problem, how we talk about these incidents, how we frame what's actually happens, how we hold the people, the men. And I have to say men because it is men perpetrating this. The men who are abusing systems, taking advantage of the people that are closest to them, murdering and abusing women and children, and how as a society we better protect women and children. Because the why is obviously not fixing things. And my biggest takeaway as I thought of the first 2 stories over the weekend and then this horrific execution of this man's entire family, 7 children, 7 of his own children, and the other 8th child was their cousin, little babies, and shooting their mothers in the face. To bookends these stories, my real takeaway is there's just no safe space for women in the world. There's nowhere that's safe. You're not safe at home with your husband, who could potentially be drugging and raping you and putting that video on the internet and sharing it with people all over the world in private chats. You're not safe with the father of your children, who, when you try to leave him and go through the proper channels to do so, he says no and then kills himself and kills you rather than moving on with his life after you stood beside him through his career journey and awful accusations, horrific accusations. You're not safe with your family and your children because you're having marital issues or having relationship issues and you're supposed to go to court, and then he doesn't want that to be the outcome, so he kills the entire family. Where are you safe? And immediately people are going to go to, well, it's not all men. Well, most men aren't doing this. Well, I don't behave this way. Well, you're conflating, a few incidents with the entire world. I can tell you, it's a lot of men. Every single woman I know has dealt with being sexually harassed. Every single woman I know. Most women I know have dealt with sexual assault, abuse, molestation, or rape. Most women I know. A lot of women I know have dealt with physical abuse of some kind. This is not an abstract idea. Stop whatabouting everything away from the point. Yes, women can be abusers too. Yes, women have murdered people too. Yes, women are responsible for terrible things as well. They are not the majority. They are not committing these crimes at the level that men are. And it's not about hating men. What I want for society is for men to have a safe place to express their emotions and feelings, to get the help that they need at a young age before they turn into monsters, and for us to stop blaming this on mental health. Murdering your entire family, execution style, 7 children of your own, and an 8th family member is not about mental health. It's not about seeing a therapist. These are societal issues where women and children are not protected. Putting videos of your wife, the mother of your children, online for other men to consume after you have made her tea at night and put your child's sleeping pills in there, that is a societal, systemic issue, and it has to be addressed. You know, when I saw that story of the woman in France, what is her name? We're gonna have to edit this part. Pellico. The woman whose husband, Giselle Pellico. What's her bitch ass husband's name? Dominique Pellico. When I saw the story of Giselle Pellico, who was wife to bitch ass Dominic Pellico, who was drugging her and raping her for over a decade and inviting other men to come into their home and assault and rape her, I couldn't, like, even saying the words, it turns to ash in my mouth. It's so unimaginable to me that you could trust someone that much, that in your own home, they are the danger, like to that level. Because I'm aware that most women who are murdered by men are murdered by their spouse or their partner. That's a statistical fact. The person closest to you is your biggest danger. And for that story, for to go on for as long as it did, and really the only reason he was able to be prosecuted is because he had to take videos and share it with other people. And now we know that this is happening all over the world. There's so many stories of this. At what point do we just either accept that protecting women and children is not a charge of society, and that women and children should do whatever they can to protect themselves? Or we sit down and have the conversation of how we're raising young men, how we're holding men who are violent accountable, how you as men, when you're in the rooms together and someone makes a joke about that, or someone makes a comment, you don't hold them accountable to the highest level so they feel that shame and understand that wrong. What are we to do as women? We didn't invent this system. We don't have the power in this system. The laws are going backwards. If we speak out, we're accused of lying. If we go to the police, we're told we shouldn't have been drinking, or we shouldn't have worn that thing, or why were we in that room, or why did we get in that car, or why did we go to that house? The victim blaming it's past the point of being obvious. The way that these stories are reported on continue the cycle. Oh, it's such a shame. He was such a promising young man. You want a good movie, by the way? Promising Young Woman is a crazy movie. Have you ever seen that movie? Well, if you're in the mood for a very dark film, it's great, but it's right along the lines of what I'm talking about. And I don't know. I don't know that I have the solution for this. I don't know if I'm just venting, and sometimes I do just use the podcast to just vent about what I'm frustrated about, and it sits so deeply in my spirit that we are constantly talking about this. We're constantly talking about fixing the home and fixing the family, and no abortions because we need these children in the world, and we do nothing. And I say nothing because what the fuck are we doing? What are we actually doing? You're not safe in your own home. If you can't be safe there, where are you supposed to be safe? You can't jog at night. You can't wear revealing clothing. You're supposed to have pepper spray on you all the time. You got to keep your head up when you're walking in the parking garage. You can't be too sexy. You can't be too thin. You can't have too many curls in your hair. You can't wear lashes. You can't wear makeup. If you don't wear makeup, what the fuck are you supposed to do? You got to get married. But if you get married to the wrong guy, he could fucking kill you and your entire family, shoot you in the face, and then it's because it's PTSD. So, guess that's why. So sad. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making sense at this point, but all I know is I can't fix the problem, and women can't fix the problem. Women didn't invent the system. They don't hold the system up outside of you goofy ass pick-meshas, which we'll get to at another time. Men have to fix this. Men created this. Men are at large the perpetrators of this. And yeah, just to the women who hear these stories and are triggered or have survived these experiences, very luckily, like myself, to the women who have lost sisters or friends or mothers or family members to this kind of violence, as I have, I sit with you today because it's how I felt at the beginning of the weekend. And then to see that story in Louisiana, I was just like, wow, I can't believe, because obviously this is constant. It feels at this point, but it's such a horrific, unimaginable situation. I saw a woman crying, and it was their aunt. And I talked about my nieces and nephews last week. I cannot imagine. I can't imagine the terror and the pain that family is going through. Nothing will ever be the same. The child that survives, I mean, what? It's just, I don't know. I've run out of words.